the Adi Shankaracharya says that there are 4 kinds of students. The first type of students are Uttamadhikari. They're very brilliant, they're very intelligent, they're very quick to understand. They understand things as it is to be understood. The second kind of students are Madhyamadhikari. They're mediocre. They will take some time to understand, but with a little effort and little sincere striving, they will get to know the truth. Even though initially they don't understand, eventually they will understand. Then there are Adhamadhikaris. There is no hope for them to understand because they have not paid attention, they have not clearly analyzed, done no homework, no effort, no viveka, nothing they have used, simply they have heard. And then the last one is Adhamadhamadhikari. They should not be in the class also because they have no shraddha. They don't even want to sit, they're just sitting because they have been made to sit. So for the lowest of the low, Adhamadhamadhikaris, there should not be, no teaching should be imparted at all because they are not going to put any effort, they are not even interested in it. In fact, anything that is told they will not understand or even misunderstand. Adhamadhikaris are those who are at least coming with some basic shraddha and sitting in the class and trying to listen and understand, though they may not understand immediately. Madhyamadhikaris are those who come and they are putting some effort to understand, but they need some more guidance and efforts. With that, they will be able to score well. And Uttamadhikaris are by nature very shraddhavan, very brilliant, and little instruction and they will understand the entire thing. First, the Uttamadhikaris are those who have a sattva buddhi, who are very pure-minded, who are very, their nishtha, their faith and their interest is very high to learn. Like you know how Ekalavya learned, despite not even having a guru, he learned the subject. The second one, these are the people who are guru nididhyasana, means they practice it. The moment it is said, they start practicing it. They don't wait another moment to waste. They immediately put it into practice. And practically they start learning it. The Madhyamadhikaris are those who just do manana. They will only think about it, and by thinking with little more effort, they will be able to get to know what the knowledge is about. The Adhamadhikaris are those who do just shravana. They have come, they have sat in the class, they are just listening, but they don't do anything after that. And Adhamadhamadhikaris are those who sleep in the class. They don't even listen to whatever is being told. So it seems once he was sitting and teaching his students, and then he said, "Do you see over there? Nice mountain is there, far away in the nature, like Gurukulas used to be in nature." So he said, in that corner, that, "Do you see a mountain?" All the students, 4 of them, shook their heads as, "Of course we see the mountain." Then he said, "Do you see the tree on the mountain?" He said, "Yes, we see the tree in the mountain." "Do you see the tree moving this way and that way, swaying?" "Yes, we do see the tree swaying," they agree. Then he says, "The reason for its swaying is the wind, the air." He's explaining the air element of the 5 elements. All the 4 shook their heads, "Yes, we have understood." Then he asked the first one, "So what did you understand?" The first one said, "The mountain is the reason. That is, mountain is wind. Because mountain is there, so tree is there, so movement on tree is there. So mountain is the air." I said, "Very good. What else to tell you?" So he asked the next one, "What do you understand of the air?" He said, "I understood." That's what you understood. Tree is the air. Because tree is the reason for its own movement. Very good. The third one he asked, "What is air?" He said, "The movement is the air. The moving of the tree is called air. So when tree is standing, it is tree. When it starts moving, it is called air." He said, "No." But only the Uttamadhikari understood. He said, "Neither the mountain, nor the tree, nor the movement, but that which causes the movement is air. Am I right?" Then he just said, "Of course you're right. You've understood that correctly because you've observed deeply." So the Uttamadhikari is the one who understood mountain cannot be the air, tree cannot be the air, Because mountain is mountain, tree is tree, and movement is a movement. But something that causes the movement, there is this breeze which is flowing through the leaves, that is what is causing the tree to move. He understood. But the other three, movement is the air, tree is the air, mountain is the air. And some of them, sir, can you repeat the question? Because you're not even listening. You've woken up just now. So you have to be very careful when you are coming to learn. You have to decide which kind of adhikari you want to be. The deservedness of the student, adhikara, and the jnana, depends on the sincerity, the sukshma buddhi, the sattva buddhi. And that kind of pure intellect, pure mind is needed. Therefore, in the last sloka, they were talking about brahmacharyam charanti, for whose sake people practice brahmacharyam, yad icchanto, brahmacharyam charanti, it is said. Why this brahmacharya is such an important quality for a student? And brahmacharya is not just the ashrama where you are living. Ashrama means guru graha vasa is brahmacharya, is what Shankaracharya defines. Brahmacharya is also a sthiti in your life where you are living in the house of the guru. After that you may live in your house or your in-laws' house, depends on what it is. But at brahmacharya ashram you are living in a guru's house, it is said. Or else your mind is at least at the feet of the guru. If your body is not there, like Ekalavya was not necessarily living in Guru's ashram, but his mind was always at the feet of Guru. Guru Charanambuja, Nirbhara Bhakta. Dependent on Guru's feet, depending on Guru's jnana. Could not be inside Guru's ashrama, but still he could learn. Hanuman is like that. When Hanuman was not given admission into Sun's class, Sun means the sun god. Sun god said, my class is full, chariot is full, no space inside. Then Hanuman said, can you allow me to at least hold on to the peg of your chariot and then fly around with you and learn? So means I will stand outside the class at the door and can I listen at least? Will you allow that? Then sun god said that, all right, that is the best I can do for you, and he allowed. And Hanuman was flying along with the chariot of the sun. That is what said. That is the imagery. Because sun keeps moving, so it is imagined that Hanuman was always associated with sun god. And by just being there with him, he learnt all the vidya. And you know, buddhimatam varishtham he became. The most intelligent. He is uttamadhikari. A little also has been told, swalpamapyasya. Little bit also be told, yatha tathopadeshena. Any type of discourse, any type of upadesha he gets, he understands. Kritartha sattva buddhiman. Ajivamapi jignasu parastatra vimuhyate. Whereas for a jignasu who comes with idle curiosity, more to test the teacher or to show off his knowledge or simply do some time pass in the class without letting anybody study, disturbing all, such people don't learn anything. Therefore, any knowledge, whether it is ordinary, worldly, material knowledge, or it is a spiritual knowledge, it requires that kind of a sincerity, that kind of perseverance, that kind of continuous effort. Prayatno vidheyaha. Keep putting efforts, it is said. So some of you are getting doubts. You are telling all these nice things, but my mind is not in my control. It is going this way, that way. It is nice to hear, but when I go back, then the mind is fluctuating. What should I do? Prayatno videya. Keep putting efforts. There is no substitute to hard work, they say. That applies to spiritual work also. And one big important prayatna is to remain in the state of brahmacharyam. Brahmacharya vrata. By not just brahmacharya, it should be vrata. Vrata means you have made a firm resolution to follow it. When we take vrata, it's not about I may or I may not do. When you take a vrata, you have decided, you have become resolute. You have fixed your mind on that thing and then you will do it come what may. That is vrata. Like Bhishmacharya took one vrata. I shall not marry, so that this Simhasana of Hastinavati is always belonging to the sons of Satyavati and not I will never gain. Because I will not do, but if my children ask for that, then I don't want children at all. So therefore I shall not marry. And like that he took a vrata. That is why his name became Bhishma. Because Bhishma Pratigya it is called. It is a very severe, very intense pratigya that he had taken. So Bhishma Pratigya. So the Devavrata, Bhishma he became. So the idea was that he took a very intense resolution that I shall practice this all my life. I am committed to this. And therefore he could become what he could become. And brahmacharya is a vrata. Anybody can take that vrata. The easiest thing to do is when you are a kid in a school, less distractions, you live in Guru's place, easier to follow brahmacharya vrata. And that is the time you should pick up as much knowledge as possible. Because after that, when the mind grows, body grows, all kinds of other distractions come in, then it is very difficult to follow these vratas. That is why children were pushed into Gurukula at 8 years of age. Upanayanam was performed and all of them in the Gurukula. And from 8 years to almost sometimes 16 years, sometimes till 20, 22 years, they would stay in Gurukula. 8 to 12 years was their education, during which they'll gain as much knowledge. And because they are still young and their senses are still not as distracted as a grown-up, so it is easier for them to follow. But true meaning of brahmacharya is to always move around in the thought of Brahman. Chara means to move around. Brahma means in that infinite truth. So always your mind is absorbed in that truth. Do whatever you do. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmana Uttam, Brahmaivatena Gantavya, Brahmakarma Samadhina. All actions you do with absorption of your mind in the idea of Brahman. I'm eating also, that is an act of offering to Brahman. The digestion is Brahman. It goes to Brahman. It is offered by Brahman. The food offered is Brahman. Everything is Brahman. This kind of thought is brahmacharya, where in every small thing, big thing, you continuously look at Brahman, look at the hand of Brahman, try to perceive the idea that Brahman alone is. And all other distractions will go away if you keep yourself focused. So that is why it is very, very important. And this vrata is also called Turasya Dhara, it will come next. Where we have gone through that, like walking on razor's edge. When you are walking on razor's edge, your complete focus is on walking. Anything else can you think of? If you think of, then you will cut yourself. So that kind of one-pointedness is brahmacharya, where you're completely focused on the idea of Brahman, want to realize God, want to know the truth, and everything else goes into the background. Example, this video camera is there. Suppose they want to show a clear picture of mine on the screen. They have to put the focus on me. Suppose their focus is not good. Then what will happen? I will not be seen clearly. I'll be out of focus. And something else, maybe the clock or maybe the mic or maybe some background will come into focus and I will go out of focus. The camera can focus on one thing at a time. Likewise, your mind can focus only at one thing at a time. Can you focus at two things right now as you sit? You cannot. You may think, but all others are faded focuses. In the sense, they are in the background. You think though you have two eyes, you only see one thing. That is focus. When one single thought occupies all your being, and that thought is about Brahman, that is called brahmacharya. It can happen when you are in grihastha ashrama also, it can happen in your vāṅmayatapaḥ ashrama also, it can happen in your sannyasa ashrama also. It's an idea, it's a status of mind, it's a state of mind, brahmacharya. It's not physical state, it is a state of mind where all the time your mind is occupied by a single thought of attaining Brahman, and all other thoughts are in the background. So you don't really bother much about them, and not they bother you too much. Similarly, there is one more word, tapasam sarvani chayat vadanti. All kinds of are supposed to be performed for its sake only. For whose sake? To attain Brahman. And very nicely in Bhagavad Gita, tapas means, now your first impression would be, tapas means a long beard, and then one dhoti, and then one cave, and then one bony, skinny, malnourished sadhaka somewhere. Closed eyes, padmasana. This is what the tapas sounds like. Does it not? The first image of tapas. But again, like Adi Shankara breaks the myth about brahmacharya, Krishna breaks the myth about tapas in Bhagavad Gita. He says, in the 17th chapter he says, Shraddhatraya Vibhava Yoga, he says, 3 kinds of tapas one need to follow to attain me. First is the tapas of the body. What is the tapas of the body? He says, Deva, Dvija, Guru, Prajna Pujanam. To worship. Worship means not offering flowers. To follow the path. To understand the message of who? Deva, the deities. Then Dvija, the Brahmins who are teaching you the knowledge. Or noble people in the society who are doing good things. Learning from them is worshipping them. And Guru, the one who is leading you towards God. His path you have to follow. That is true worship. And prajna, those who are already realized, enlightened ones. Worshipping them means following their path, respecting the very idea of their existence and thereby following their path. Deva, Dvija, Guru, Prajna Pujanam. What else is there? He says Shaucham, Arjavam. Shaucham means purity. Purity is not just of the body. Keeping the body clean, go and have a nice bath in Ganga and come back, and then mind is full of dirt. So Antaranga Shuddhi, just not the Bahiranga Shuddhi. Antaranga Shuddhi, if you do, both Bahiranga and Antaranga, both are required. So Bahiranga Shuddhi is the physical tapas, that is the physical body tapas. So Deva, Dvija, Guru, Prajna Pujanam, Shaucham, Arjavam. Arjavam means honesty, straightforwardness in your dealings. What you think only you do. You don't do other than what you think. What your hands are doing is what your head is thinking, is what your heart is feeling. So having very straightforward dealings, no shady dealings in the society, being honest and upright is Arjavam. And what else is there? It says, with the body, what else you should practice? Brahmacaryam, ahimsa, cha. Both brahmacharya and ahimsa you have to practice. Brahmacharyam, just now we explained that you have to abstain physically first, mentally later. First, physically stay away from those places, people and things which can distract your attention from Brahman. First thing is you do that. You can't expect that you get into a place where there are distractions and you will somehow manage to stay focused. It's not possible. So at the beginning, as you want to become an uttamadhikari, a good student, the first thing you should do is be respectful for your guru, for the noble people in the society, to the elders, be respectful to God, and follow purity, cleanliness, and straightforwardness. Don't tell lies, tell the truth always. And you should always practice brahmacharya. Your mind should be focused on your studies and whatever you are trying to attain, not in other things. And ahimsa. You should not be harmful to anyone, violent to yourself or violent to anybody outside you. Ahimsa is also the idea that don't harm your own body. Don't eat, drink, or practice unhealthy things which will harm your own body and harm others around you. These are the practices are called śārīratapaḥ. These are the practices, tapa for the body. Therefore, he says, tapas, if you want to do on the path of learning the knowledge, ultimate knowledge, this all physically you have to do these things. Respect the elders, respect the enlightened ones, follow their path, be clean and pure, remain straightforward, don't tell lies. Then practice brahmacharya, don't get distracted by other things that attract your senses, stay away from them, and practice non-violence. In all situations, be calm. Don't react like this. That is how you can practice at the physical level. That is not enough. This is the first level of tapas. This is the easiest level actually. Then there comes the tapo of the word, vāṅmayatapaḥ, in your speech. Because in those days, everything was about hearing and speaking. There was no writing and reading, no digital learning. So everything else was about speaking and hearing. So therefore controlling speech was very important. But because when we speak, we can't hear. Can we hear and speak together? We can hear ourselves, but we can't hear our guru. So learning to keep control over our own tongue. It is the idea of vāṅmayatapaḥ. And then that is also beautiful. What all you should do, it goes on to tell. That how should you speak this kind of things. Anudvegakaram vakyam. You should not speak in a way that will create agitation or disturbance in you and in others. Anudvega. Udvega means some kind of restlessness, anxiety, agitation. So speak softly. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyam, it is said. Speak truth. Speak in pleasant way. Don't speak truth in an unpleasant way. Don't stop speaking truth altogether because it is unpleasant. No. Learn to speak it in a pleasant way. Like a king was there and his son was born. And everybody he called Jyotish acharyas and so tell about the future of my newborn prince. So everybody read the Kundali and Jataka and they said, this fellow is going to die very young. And he got very angry, he put them in the jail. He asked the next fellow, he said he is also short-lived, put them in the jail. Now this clever Jyotishacharya came, he heard that this king will not like if I tell the truth, he'll put us in jail. But I have to tell the truth. This is because my profession demands that I always tell the truth. I don't hide the truth. So how do I go about it? So then he thought and told the king, your son has brought you great luck. Oh, what has happened? What did he do? How is his future? He says, he has brought you so much of luck that you will live longer than your son. And he became very happy and gave him rewards. Earlier people told, your son will die before you, and they got into jail. And this person said the same thing in the other way around, which is, you will live, he has brought you good luck, so much so that you will live longer than even him. And he became happy. So, na bruyat satyam apriyam, don't speak on anudvega karam vakyam, don't speak which will create agitation, restlessness. So there is a methodology, even in speech one must practice tapas. Why I am saying this? Because these are all practical tapas. You don't have to go to Himalaya to perform tapas to attain Brahman. First start where you are here and in your own lives and professions. Anudvega karam vakyam, satyam priya hitam chayat. Satyam, speak truth, speak priya, speak nice things. And hitam, it should be for the welfare, for the good of others. If it is not going to be satya or priya or hitakara, don't speak at all. Rather keep quiet. That is better. But you must, if you must speak because your profession demands, then speak truth in a pleasant way. Don't speak in an unpleasant way. That is very important and should be spoken for the idea of the other's welfare. It's out of the great feeling of welfare of others, hitam chayat. Speak like that, he says. And what else you should use your tongue for? If at all you have to use your tongue for. It says, swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva. You practice swadhyaya. That is, you have to, in those days you have to repeat loudly whatever you have learnt. And therefore, you use your tongue to repeat whatever has been taught by the teachers. So use it for your swadhyaya. And abhyasa, whatever practice of remembering the mantras, chanting the mantras, involving yourself in memorizing them. Use your tongue only for that. So use your tongue for anudvega karam vakyam. Speak in a way that is not going to cause anxiety, agitation in others. Satyam, truth, priyam, pleasantness, hitam, welfare of others, chayat. And swadhyaya, abhyasanam chaiva. Swadhyaya and abhyasana. Your abhyasa and swadhyaya, that may require you to, like a music person is there. Obviously his practice is going to be singing. He can't sing in the mind and imagine that he has sung it. So for that person, swadhyaya or abhyasa is to sing aloud. Likewise for a Vedic Pandit in those days, the swadhyaya is to repeat the mantras so that if there is a mistake, the teacher can correct, you can hear yourself and understand where the mistakes are. So abhyasa, swadhyaya for that. This is called vāṅmayam. Tapa vāṅmayam uchyate. This is the tapa of the tongue. Vak. So one tongue if you can control, 99% problems of the life will be solved. It's this tongue which asks for food of your liking or talks without thinking, without any limit, that gets us all into trouble. Jivvagre vasate Lakshmi, Jivvagre mitra bandhava, Jivvagre sarvam praptirastu, Jivvagre maranam dhruvam. Everything comes from Jivva. You make friends because of your tongue, you make enemies because of your tongue. You speak nicely, you get everything that you want, and because of your bad speaking only, you also attain your own ruin, your death. So tongue, vāṅmayatapaḥ. And then there is one more kind of tapa, which is mānasatapaḥ. Mānasatapaḥ uchyate. The mind should also be, body is very good, tongue is somehow quiet. Like in your class, if teacher comes and says, everybody quiet, everybody quietens up, teacher has come. But does that mean there is real peace in the class? Inside the mind of the student, something is boiling. So peace is only external, temporary peace. If the teacher looks the other way, again they'll be back, chattering. The moment teacher turns this way, again silent. So this kind of tapa is not real tapa because tongue is quiet, but mind is agitated. Inside your mind, something is going on. So what is the idea? Manaprasadaha. Mind should be in a pleasant state. Sweet and a pleasant state, not an angry state, not a frustrated state, not in a tempted state, distracted state. Manaprasadaha, saumyatvam, softness, kindness, compassion. Saumyatvam, a soft mind, not a rash mind, a harsh mind, not a mind which is always opinionating, judging, condemning, complaining. Not that kind of a mind. A mind of a person who is doing tapa is always Prasadaha means very happy, pleasant, and also saumyatvam. And very important, it says maunam atma vinigrahaha. Maunam is the quality of mind. See, you thought maunam is the quality of the tongue. No, tongue speaks only when mind speaks. If there is some thought in the mind, only it translates into speech in the tongue. So maunam's root cause is mind, not the tongue. Suppose you get a thought, then only you want to go and speak to somebody. If you have no thought, why would you go and speak? So the thought which arises in the mind, controlling that thought is maunam. Unnecessary thought should not come. Maunam. So maunam is to the mind, not to the tongue. If mind is quiet, tongue will be quiet naturally. And atma vinigraha, self-control. I want to eat this, no. Stop yourself from unnecessary eating, unnecessary talking, unnecessary seeing, unwanted hearing, unwanted tasting, touching, smelling. Every other atma vinigraha, by your mind's power, you should be able to restrain yourself. And what else you should do? Bhava samshuddhihi. Iti etat tapo mānasamuchyate. Bhava samshuddhihi. Purifying your bhava, the emotions, the feelings within you, all the time. Keeping pure emotions and discarding impure emotions. That purification process, by contemplating on good things and discarding thinking of wrong things, that is the practice of the mind, tapa. So therefore, for that, realizing God, you don't have to go any far away and put yourself through so much of torture. That is not the tapa that Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita. He simply talks tapas as these three, shariram, vāṅ and manasam. Practice these values in a daily life. These are very practical values. And you, where you are, as you are, you can practice this tapas. All these tapas should be ultimately to help you practice brahmacharya, keep the focus of mind, talk less, waste less energy, so that all that energy can be channelized towards learning Brahma Vidya. And that is how Brahma Vidya, this is Nayamatma Balahinena Labhya. To weak people, this Atman is not to be realized by weak. It's only to the people who are strong in body, mind, self-controlled. For them only this Atman is. It will come. It is not to be realized by weak people who fall for every little temptation. That is not for them, because they are not focusing on Brahman. They are always focusing on other things. So you are not seeing, you are not practicing, therefore you are not going to get it. So that focus, that distraction should not come in your way. That is why tapas is practiced. So if these values are not being practiced, forget, you cannot attain Brahman and other things. You are wasting your time, you are hoping you will reach, but like a pendulum you are swinging here and there, but you are not going anywhere. You are just swinging between this and that. And next was also sarve veda yat padma amananti. Veda means that knowledge. And knowledge is in the Vedas, as we talk about, but all the Vedas are not talking about Brahman. The karma kandas of the Vedas are only busy with the rituals and returns that will come from the rituals. That part of Veda which talks about the Upanishads, karma ne jnana kanda, which is talking about, that jnana kanda is what is being referred to here. And that tatte padam sangrahena. Padam is again a state. Like chairperson is a padam. But you are only a person who is occupying the padam temporarily. Padam is permanent. Status of being of a chairperson is same. Today there might be a woman who is a chairperson. Tomorrow there can be a man after the woman is transferred. So man or woman are the changes, but the padam does not change. Whether it's occupied by a man or a woman, it is a secondary thing. Likewise, padam it is, Brahma padam, it is a common padam for all. It is common. It's not like you have a separate Brahma padam and somebody else will have a separate Brahma padam. There is only one president and only one can become president. No. In Brahma padam, everybody can become Brahman. It's available to all. But sometimes we are in that Brahma padam, again we fall back into Brahma padam. We get into illusion that we are anything other than Brahman. So there is far deeper meaning to each of these words, and he says, Bravimi etad iti. What he is telling, I am going to tell you in briefly, that one word you tell me, if I have to tell you what Brahman is, he says, Om. Om iti etad. Om is Brahman, he says. Now, you will wonder, Brahman is not supposed to have any sound, touch, taste, odor, smell, nothing. Where this Om became Brahman? In fact, the Upanishads, if you go back and see, Mandukya Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, it was straight away called Om iti Brahma. It is not even saying Om is the symbol of Brahma. Like that Om is a single sound. It cannot be further divided. The phonetics of Om is Om. It can't be further divided. So it represents Brahman, not even represents Brahman. Our Upanishads say it is Brahman. Now why would you say that it is Brahman? Because it is sound, and how does it truly describe Brahman in its entirety? So now you have to go back a little more and look at the Taittiriya Upanishad. In Taittiriya Upanishad it is said, Tasmad etasmatmanam akashas sambhutaha. From this Atmanam is the ultimate odorless, colorless, tasteless, qualityless, that pure consciousness it was. That is considered as the Atmanam, the Brahman. From there came the first element that came out is space. Akasha is space, not the sky. This blue sky is not. This blue color is an illusion. Actually, sky has no color. It is, that's it. Sky is. So Akasha. The only quality of Akasha is sound. The sound travels through space. So whenever a space is disturbed, sound is produced. So space quality is sound. You have to remember these are all technical things from the Upanishads. So first is Atman came Akasha. Akasha sambhutaha. Akasha Vayuhu. Air came about from the space. Vayuhu Agni. From air came the fire. Agni Apaha. From fire came water. Apaha Prithvi. From water came earth. Prithibhyo Annam. From earth came food. Anna or Oshadhayaha. First came the Oshadhi, that is the plants which carry grains in them. And then Oshadhibhyo Annam. From the plants came Anna, food which we eat. Annat Purushaha. From that Anna which we eat came the human or any Purusha where the God resides in whom. That being came about. And Purusho Annaha Rasamayaha. The essence of the Purusha is Annam again. All the Annam that we eat, that is what becomes our flesh, our blood, our bones, our tissues, and ultimately the seed of next generation in both man and women. That is also nothing but Annam, because that is transformation of Annam, like in your blood, like cows eat grass and becomes milk in them. So like that, Annam only finally gets transformed into this body, and everything is Annam. That is why this body is called Annamaya, because it is made of Annam. That's why it's called Annamaya. That is what Annamaya Kosha, which comes from there. So if you go back, the body, which is the grossest, is the physical body. Then I said there is something inside you also. The prana is there, mana is there, and the vijnana is there. And the ananda, which is to your experiencing. So like this, there are layers within ourselves. We are in layers, we are not just single. Now if you look at the 5 elements from where everything came about, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. These are the 5. Space, air, fire, water and earth. And each of these elements have their own qualities. Like Akasha's quality is sound, Shabda. Air's quality is Sparsha, touch. You can feel the air when it passes by. Third, Agni's quality is Rupa. First time the form appears, because air has no form. So fire came for third. Fire has a form. It has the quality of Rupa or form. Then water came about, which is having the quality of Rasa or taste. And actually water has no taste, but you can put it on tongue. That is the idea. It feels cool or hot, whichever way. And from there came the earth, which is the Gandha. The smell comes from the earth for the first time. Before that, smell wasn't existing in water. Before water, taste wasn't existing. Before fire, form wasn't existing. And before air, touch wasn't existing. And before space, sound wasn't existing. So in original most state, Brahman is soundless, tasteless, touchless, odorless, formless. Because from that, everything has emerged. So this is a sequence taught in Taittiriya Upanishad. And Taittiriya Upanishad also declares Om iti Brahma, Om iti Idagum Sarvam. Om is the original Brahma. So now you have got to know that sound is not Brahma, touch is not Brahma, or form is not Brahma, taste is not Brahma, smell is not Brahma. These are all the modifications of Brahma. The original Brahman has nothing of these. It is, but it is also everything else, it is saying. But everything else has sound, taste, smell, touch, all these things. Then how can everything be Brahman? And how Om is Brahman? So this is a very important thing. See, in this shloka I am telling you in briefly, Om is Brahman. Now you have to sit and analyze why is it called Om as Brahman, why he didn't call Hum or Hum or Him or Kleem or something as Brahman, why he called Om as Brahman. That is the idea. So you sit and do this assignment, that how sound is equal to space, how touch is equivalent to wind. You do your own assignment with your thinking. Mananam you do. That how from space air came, from air fire came, from fire water came, from water earth came. How did it all happen? What is the inner significance? You do some exercise on your own, then we will discuss it another time. That what is the scientific logic behind all this? Not simply said. There is a very clear scientific logic behind what is being said. When from nothing came out space, from space came air. Air means gases. From gases came the fire. Oxygen is not there, no fire. From fire came the water. Why? Because evaporation. Condensation is cooling. Both are fire's property. So water becomes water only after it cools down. What is water? It's gas only, H2O. But when it condenses, molecules come together, it becomes liquid. Liquid to solid state. So all this is a scientific approach and you can derive it for yourself. But I'll go back to the first and foremost. Before even the sound came into picture, there was Brahman. So how to explain this Brahman to this fellow Nachiketa who has never heard and never understood, nor doesn't know Brahman? He said one simple way of knowing Brahman is Om. It is like when you see flag of the country. Flag may be having 3 colors and a wheel in the center, but you immediately think of what? Think of the whole country. Flag is not the country. Flag is a symbol. But flag is the country I am saying right now. Am I wrong in saying flag is the country? In a way, I am not wrong. So one person may say flag is not the country. One person say flag is the country. When he salutes the flag, whom is he saluting? The entire country. The entire idea of Bharata, with its lands and rivers and mountains and jungles, desert lands, plateaus, also the human beings of diverse cultures, all this put together is India. The idea of India is what you are saluting when you salute the flag of India. Likewise, when you chant Om, the idea is that you are experiencing the very Brahman. That's how Om represents Brahman. Now you may say, why this Om was chosen? How this Om was chosen? Who decided that Om should represent? At least we know Indian flag who decided that this should represent India. But Om as a word, who decided? And it's Akshara. It's like the last syllable. It cannot be broken further. And now I will tell you that Om is made of 3 things together. A, U and not Ma. A, U, Now don't chant it as A, U, No, that is not the chanting. Sound is still Om only. But if you very finely segregate that sound, 3 sounds are coming. A, U and See, A represents according to Mandukya Upanishad, this is, which has only 12 shlokas, very precise, condensed, concentrated Upanishad. It says A represents the wakeful state, Jagrut Avastha. Just like I hope all of you are in Jagrut Avastha. You are aware that you are awake. So your awakened state of being awake is represented by the A part of the Om. Then we are getting to dream state. When we go to sleep, we start dreaming. Body is inactive, but mind is active still, at least semi-active. So that part is called the U part of it, the middle part of it. And U represents the dream state. Then this that is the final, the sound of which is there, that represents the deep sleep state. It's a representation. And finally, beyond that, is there something beyond the 3 states? Is there something we discussed that, do we exist beyond these 3? We do exist. That awareness does exist. You may not be aware of that awareness while you are sleeping in a deep sleep stage, but you are existing. You didn't die or you didn't disappear. You come back again to this normal state soon after. This Jagrata Avastha, you come back to it. So there is a 4th state which is called Turiya Avastha. Though Mandukya Upanishad does not call it Turiya, it just calls it the 4th state. Beyond the 3 lies the 4th. But Gaudapada calls it as Turiya Avastha. Now if you see the Om symbol, it is having a small representation of each part is in each of these. The lower curve is the wakeful state, Jagrata Avastha. The backside curve is the dreaming, Sapna Avastha. The upper curve is the deep sleep, the Sushupti Avastha. And then that arc is the difference between this and that. It's like between the higher self and the lower self. It's illusion. It's an illusionary mark which says that hereafter you transcend. So like that there's mark, and then beyond that is something called Turiya, the dot. See, dot is a very significant thing. All things are made of dots. Do you realize that? Everything is made of dot. Dot, 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 dot. If you put together, it will become a line. Many dots you put together, it will become a circle. Everything is, if you break it to the last point, any figure, anything, it turns out to be a dot, a point, nothing more. All points together make a picture. So everything is nothing but a collection of points. So they have said that everything is that Turiya, which is represented by the matra on top. We understood wakeful, dream and deep sleep state. What about the dot? What is it called? It is called amatra. There is no matra there. Though this is sound is to be but there is no sound. So he says the first is a sound, u sound, sound, and fourth is silence. The fourth one represents silence. Beyond the three states of wakeful, dream and deep sleep, there is a state of awareness which is represented by silence. Now think for yourself how technically it is correct. Every sound has come out of silence. If silence was not there, how will sound be there? So first there was silence. Then a sound came. It transformed into oo, sustained, and slowly decayed into and disappeared back into silence. Like from a river or like an ocean, a wave emerges, stays for some time, plays on the ocean and goes back into the ocean. A bubble that forms on the water. It forms out of water, floats on water and disappears into water. Likewise, all this world that we see in the wakeful state, that we see all in the dream state, and that we don't see in our deep sleep state, has a fundamental called Brahman, from which everything comes and stays, sustains, and everything goes back. So that is the idea of the Om as a representation. How correct it is, you see.